It's always wonderful to hear the voice of the Lord, and it was really amazing to me because God did speak to us so plainly about the future and what He wanted us to do, and made us willing. And I think maybe my spiritual condition wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And I was so tired and worn out that I just felt like God couldn't speak to me. But actually, He spoke very plainly. And so we were ready to go to Denver. And every message in that prayer and Bible conference was directly to us. In fact, one of them was actually called A Call from God. So we were ready to go, except of course we had 8 children, 2 houses that had to be disposed of, a church that we wanted to see settled. And so we began to just talk about the fact that God had called us and began to do things that we could do toward that end.
We were perfectly well adjusted where we were. In reality, it really didn't make practical sense. However, I never questioned the fact that I did hear from God.
The assistant pastor was elected as pastor, and that was from October to December when he was elected pastor. And so we were really free to go, except we had these 2 houses. And the 2 houses together weren't worth what one home in Denver would cost us. So really we had no financial means. We weren't asking the Home Missions Department for anything. We were trusting God. And He never has failed us, and He didn't fail us then.
He's never failed me yet. He's never failed me yet. Jesus' love has never failed me yet. Everywhere I go, I want the world to know that Jesus' love has never failed me yet.
So after we made it known to the church and the people around that the Lord had spoken to us, one of the saints at the church had a brother that decided he would like to buy the house that we lived in. And we had a contract on the house. It seemed like everything was progressing, and it wouldn't be that long till we would be able to be on our way. In fact, by the end of January, our 2 oldest daughters got in a car and pulled a trailer in the middle of the winter to Denver. And waiting them in Denver was a couple that had decided that they were going to go to Denver and help us to build this church. And miraculously, by that time, that couple had already had 5 people receive the Holy Ghost. And one of those is now a pastor here in the Denver area. We were so anxious to get to Colorado. Exciting things were already happening, and we weren't even there. But God has His way, and God has His time. And He wanted to prove to us that all He needed from us was our willingness. He didn't need the little finances that we had, but He needed us to be willing to step out by faith. And so here we are. We've got to buy around the house. We're working, trying to sort everything and get rid of things. And my husband's working enough to keep food on the table and working on the house, the rental house, to try to get it ready to sell as well. And so one day he was over there working on the house, and the man that was going to buy the other home and had applied for an FHA mortgage came in the house over where he was working and kicked the wall, and he was so upset and said, they will not give me a mortgage. And so my husband told him, that can't be, because God has sent you along to buy this house. And so he did apply again. And when he applied, he found out that they had had a big misunderstanding. And he had a business in Grand Rapids, where our home was, and wanted to move there from the town where he lived 50 miles away, which was called Big Rapids. And so the mortgage people thought that his business was in Big Rapids, and they didn't know why he wanted to move to Grand Rapids. So the confusion had caused them to refuse to give him a mortgage. But the Lord had plans. And that wasn't the only trick Satan had up his arm.
God is moving by His Spirit. He's moving in all the earth with signs and wonders, with the movement. Move, O Lord, in me.